Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. It's been a bit since I've done just a sit-down gear review, and it's been a while since I've done an EDC video. My EDC has changed a little bit, actually, after years of it not changing. It's mostly the same, but it has changed a little bit. So I actually decided, since it's been so long, I'm going to do a long, maybe an hour long, who knows, a long rambling EDC breakdown video, head to toe, everything that's on body on my daily. That is not this video. That video I'm going to film this weekend sometime. But there's one item that's changed in my EDC that I knew I was going to talk about too much in the full EDC video. So I was like, I'll make a dedicated video on this. It is not paid. I bought this. There's nothing paid about it. This brand is kind of controversial, and anytime someone talks about it, they think there's a shill or something, or someone's paid. They probably have paid a lot of people to do videos on them. They've never paid me to do videos on things. Full disclosure, I bought it. I'll get a little more into it. But before you come at me, that ain't the thing. Actually, I don't even have a video sponsor for this video. There is no money at all. I will make some money if you click some links below and use affiliate links, which I appreciate. So there is that. I am an affiliate with as many websites as I can be that makes sense. So I will put links down in the video description below, and do click those. And in that sense, I might make a buck. But all honest, unbiased stuff in this video. So EDC, again, we're not getting into the EDC, but I carry a multi-tool forever. It had been the Skeletal. More recently, it's something else, actually, which watch the full EDC video for that. But when I was building my house, and even before that, people always have utility blades, right? Box cutters, things of that nature. I've had them. Everyone's had them through the years. They're great. Once I started building my house, when was that? I've been here a year and a half, whatever, 3 years ago-ish. And I was just on the job site all the time, cutting through banded bundles of wood and just cutting stuff all the time. And I was just slashing through, demolishing my Skeletal at the time. And I was like, I need to just start EDCing a box cutter. So I kind of did a little research on box cutters, and anybody in that space will come across the Milwaukee Fastback. It is the go-to, it is the de facto, it is the cream of the crop, so to speak. But honestly, this thing sucks in a lot of ways. It has a pocket clip. The pocket clip's okay, but it's tip down carry. It's big, it's chunky, it's relatively ergonomic because of how big it is. The blade changes are relatively easy, and for what it is, it's pretty functional, but it's a pretty big thing. There are a few different variants of it. This one has screwdriver, a twin tip, standard hex, 1/4 inch drive thing in here with a dual tip bit. And it's weird because when you're right-handed, it's like a liner lock, but it's on the back side, so you either got to close it with your finger from the backside or flip it around and close it. I don't know, the ergos on this thing kind of suck, honestly, but I liked it enough, and it was functional enough that I carried it for my entire house build, used it a bunch every day, didn't have to worry about sharpening blades, just popped them out, popped a new one in when I needed to, and just really destroyed this thing. This one's not that beat up, but I used a handful of them. I probably have a dozen of them lying around in different toolkits and whatnot now. But beat them up, didn't care. They're like 15, 20 bucks or something like that. It's not wildly cheap, but also not expensive at all. And they were great. Eventually, I quit. I was done building my house, and I wasn't just destroying stuff every day, and I switched back to just carrying my multi-tool. But if you guys have watched me for any amount of time, I love knives as well. So I always kind of kicked around knives and carried a tool and a knife, or sometimes just a knife, but usually missed the tool. So usually it was a tool and a knife. And then I was at Home Depot one day and I saw this guy. So it was DeWalt's, I guess, version of the Fastback, and it was a big improvement. It's a little thinner, it's a little more streamlined, it's very similar, and it has the push button release. There's no thumb stud. It doesn't have a ton of fidget factor, but you can kind of whip it open and whip it back closed. And the pocket clip carries tip up, which was a big improvement. And it was just smaller in general. So anyway, I saw this at Home Depot when I was getting something else, just, on the end cap or whatever. And I picked one up just because I was like, that's cool. I'm a DeWalt guy as well instead of a Milwaukee guy. DeWalt's a U.S. company, and I just have invested so much in that ecosystem. It's like a DeWalt one, cool. And it does have some better ergonomics. Should I flip? I hate doing overhead videos, but I know people love them. It's funny, I was talking to my friend Taylor Martin, Best Damn EDC, and I don't know if I can share this, but I think he made a video about it recently. I didn't watch it, but he hated it. Actually, he's made several videos, I know. He just hates being stuck in that, this is what I do, a desktop EDC, it's so boring. I hate it. Anyway, that's how I feel. But I don't even have a good rig to do it, but I think it makes sense because I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff here. So let's flip the camera somewhat overhead and I'll show you. All right, like I said, I don't have a perfect setup for this, but hopefully this will do. So here we have Milwaukee Fastback, and I don't even know if the DeWalt has a specific name. I'll link to it, if I can down below. But anyway, improved on ergos. This one, and this variant does have the screwdriver, which is nice, but I carry multi-tool, so it's not super wildly important. But it felt good in the hand. It's got a little more finger groovage, some jimping along the top. It's thinner. It's just nicer. It's nicer in every way, honestly. Smoother action. The size is similar, but the DeWalt is smaller in every dimension and just smoother, and it carries actually pretty well. The DeWalt, it's not small though. This is a pretty big pocket knife. This is a Shaman Spyderco. I brought mostly just smaller knives here. Here's a Para 3 for size comparison, and a Skeletool. So it's roughly the size of a Skeletool, honestly. In a lot of dimensions, it's a little bit lighter. But anyway, I was always carrying a multi-tool, and then I decided I would carry this. I was like, I like it. I miss having a utility blade because, again, what are most people using their knives for, me included? It's like opening packages and doing just little mundane EDC tasks, for which this thing works great. I hate sharpening blades. I don't have to mess with any of that. I just swap the blade out and I have literal razor sharpness again. Occasionally I would pull the blade out and use it to scrape something off or whatever. So that has its own inherent extra bit of utility as well. Is this going to be a bushcraft knife? No. Is it going to be a survival knife? No. Is it going to be, a fighting knife? Not necessarily. No, it's not, the tip's kind of weak. They'll break relatively easy. It has a lot of drawbacks from a knife, but again, in EDC aspect of it, it excels. It does so much better than a knife in a lot of ways. So anyway, it led me down a little rabbit hole. And I said, these are like Home Depot, these are tool companies making them. I bet some knife companies make these kinds that are a little bit better. And I actually had some lying around. I had this one that sucks. I don't know, it's the TI Slice. I think it was a Kickstarter a long time ago. This thing just kind of slides too far. But I had it in a drawer and I used it once in a while to open packages or whatever if I needed to, just to kind of have it handy. Can't recommend this one. Don't love it. This one, I believe, is from Big Eye Designs. It has no branding on it except for titanium. So I think this is the, I forget what it's called. I'll put it on screen if I remember. But this one's kind of nice. It has a couple little settings in there. And it's very slim and it's very light and it's functional. It has a couple drivers, a little type pry tool type thing, a little bottle opener. you would have thought this would fit the bill perfectly. You would have thought this is the ticket, right? A very small, minimalistic thing. It's got a little pocket clip built in, but I don't know. I didn't love using it. It's just a little kind of awkward and funky to use. I still loved, gripping a knife or whatever. So while this is very cool, and I could see some people loving it, maybe you would love it. It's a cool tool. It didn't quite scratch the itch that this was scratching. There's another even more minimal one. This one is amazing. This is Aerocrafted. This was actually, sorry, I apologize, I forget your name, but Micah Overland Under Budget on Instagram and YouTube. His brother, actually, I believe works for this company in some fashion, Aerocrafted. He gave me this as a gift. Now, if you're looking for the absolute smallest, most minimal one in existence, this thing is a marvel of engineering. I love this thing. It's tiny. It's so lightweight. It's hardly bigger than the blade itself. It does have a pocket clip. Granted, it's so tiny and small that it may fit your needs for, depending on who you are and what you're doing, or slip in a bag, or if you just need a really light, minimalistic pocket carry. This might be the ticket. But again, it had kind of the same drawbacks or limitations as this one did for me, where it just didn't, it didn't feel good to use. So cool, but not quite it. So then I started searching and I actually came across this thing on Amazon. This is made by O Knife, which is, I don't really know the relationship. But it's O Light. This was my disclaimer earlier on that anytime I talk about O Light for some reason, even though I genuinely like their flashlights, the people call me a shill. And I'm like, brother, I ain't getting paid. But I came across this, bought it on Amazon, and loved it. I mean, it checked a lot of the boxes. It's the utility blade. It has some fidget factor. You fling it open. I don't know if I'm on screen here or this way. Oop. And so you can kind of finger flick it or thumb flick it, or just, it has kind of similar to a Benchmade axis lock here. So it's on both sides. So you just kind of fling it open as well. And I loved this thing. And I said, man, there's probably some others out there. So I actually bought about a half dozen. I returned some and I kept some, but I really wanted to dethrone this thing. I really wanted to not like it again, because I was like, man, if I show this and it's made by Olight, it's sad that I have to do that, right? Because if it is genuinely the best one, but I was trying to find something that was, equivalent to it, but wasn't made by Olight, I would have gone that route. So I got this thing, which is 9 Ti EDC, which is basically a clone. Not quite the same though, but similar in a lot of regards. The locking mechanisms are very similar. Everything is very similar. It's a little bit taller. I don't know if you can tell in this dimension, a little bit taller in that dimension. But every other dimension pretty much the same. And it came in this nice olive green color. The Olight one does come in this canvas green micarta as well. This is more like a G10. This is like a carbon fiber overlay on top of G10 as far as I understand it. Anyway, I got this one and it's nice too, but not really any nicer, honestly. So it's about the same, and it's just slightly bigger, and I don't quite like this has kind of some steps on it on this that just engage a little better, as well as the thumb stud. So I just like some of these machine parts on the Olight version better. So that basically was like, okay, well, that's essentially the same, but a little bit, I don't like it quite as much. So that was out. I found this cheap one. This is $10. This is like 20 or 30 bucks. I forget exactly. But under 30 bucks, I believe. So, and this one was too. This one from Work Pro, I was like, man, this one is even smaller. They come in a couple of different colors. This one's camo. And I was like, maybe that's the ticket. This, I think, was only $10, but smaller. I liked how small it was, but it is the pocket clip is upside down of what I would like it to be. So I'm trying to like keep my elbows down so I'm not getting full flings on this. But it has, similar to the DeWalt and the Milwaukee, has a push button opener. But it's just bent steel. It feels like crap. It feels every bit of $10. This is more like a gas station knife. But if you're looking for something super disposable, this kind of fits the bill. Again, other than the pocket clip orientation being not what I would like it to be, it also has pretty easy blade change. You push up on that and pull it out. That's nice. I like how quick the blade change is on the Work Sharp guy here. So that's certainly an option, but it didn't quite feel quality enough. Didn't have as much, just, I don't know, didn't feel good in the hand, but it does allow you to get a full grip without cutting yourself, which is nice. And it is tiny, and it is super, super cheap. So honestly, not a horrible option, one that I found here, but it just didn't quite have the fidget factor. It didn't feel quite as good as either of these two, in my opinion, honestly. I'll talk more on the features of it when I get to my final choice here. Then I came across this one here. This is made by Felissa. And I thought, man, this is the ticket. Smaller than the DeWalt, very similar functionality to the DeWalt. Pocket clip is on the right orientation, tip up, and same push button lock mechanism. Flings open very easily. Even has similar ergonomics to the DeWalt in that we have kind of this indent here, so you can grip it up a little closer if you want, or if you want to grip it down here, you can if you need, depending on what you're doing. This has a similar grip to where the middle finger slips right into there and is nice. So I was like, this one is maybe the ticket. This one, it feels nice. This little part is titanium. This is aluminum. The colors aren't bad. I don't love them, but they're not bad either. And it's just svelte. So it's a little bit taller than the O-Knife variant. It is about the same thickness in pocket, but one dimension is it is narrower in this dimension here. So anyway, I started carrying this and I was like, man, this is maybe it. And I really wanted to like it more because it checked a few more boxes. It doesn't have, if it had a thumb opener, I think maybe this would be the winner. Because something about, I just like flipping it. Even though I can do this, and that's, an okay fidget factor, I think my orientation on this camera is all wrong, so I don't know how this is going to look. But I don't know, it didn't feel as good as this one. So I was about to do an EDC video, and then right when I was about to, Olight launched this one. Crazy. So I actually delayed it. I bought this one, and this one is legitimately a mini Milwaukee Fastback. In that you're like, oh, what's the difference? It's a little longer handle, and that is because it now houses a little dual tip screwdriver. Wild. So this is of the 4mm variant, so it's the smaller, kind of the micro screwdriver bits, but it's both Phillips and flathead here slotted. So you have twin tip, and then if you have your own, you could swap them in, but there's not as readily available as the standard 1/4-inch drive ones, but still cool. So if you had a specific size that you needed that you were using all the time for your job or whatever, you could slip that in there. The magnet mechanism is a little bit weird in here to where a standard single end bit doesn't work great, but it does work. But the twin tip bits where it gets narrower at the tip will go in and engage the magnet a little better. I've just been using the default one. So that is kind of neat because it actually is a push button deployment. So there's actually a little bit of fidget factor even with the little bit driver. And it's like a micro bit sort of. So it's a smaller, not micro, but a smaller Phillips and a smaller slotted. So now it fills the gap in my normal, regular multi-tool EDC where it has a bigger Phillips and a bigger flathead. So now if I have a really like smaller little mini kind of pry task or whatever, now this thing comes in handy. Or if I just have a smaller Phillips, this thing comes in handy. So that is slick, and then it has the same fidget factor as this one that I grew to love, but actually the handle is a little bit more comfortable to hold as well. So it fixed a couple of the gripes I had with this one while adding a little bit of a better handle and the functionality of the bit without adding a whole lot of size. You can see it's a little bit taller, which in the pocket doesn't make as much difference for me. Same width, same height, same every other dimension except a little longer. So let's compare it just because while we have it here to a couple things. So here it is next to a Skeletal, much smaller, obviously, and thinner. Here it is next to a Milwaukee Fastback. This thing feels like a behemoth compared to it. Even the DeWalt is quite a bit bigger as well. And then it's similar to this other one that I like. Very similar dimensions to this one now with the bit driver. So here's a Spyderco Para 3 for reference. Bigger, about the same thickness though, but bigger in almost every other dimension. Here, you know, just for reference, is the Shaman, a big beastly knife. One of my favorite pocket knives though, when I just want to carry something chunky and heavy. And then some smaller knives here. This is like the Gerber Fastball. Still bigger than the little, I don't even know what this thing's called, the O-Knife U1 Pro. Then we got like a Benchmade Bug Out. Bigger, but a little bit thinner. The Bug Out is a little bit thinner in this dimension. And then we have the Mini Bug Out here. So we have a Mini Bug Out. Now we're coming pretty similar to size. The Mini Bug Out is lighter. It's a little thinner in this dimension, and it's a little bit thinner in this dimension as well. But that's the size of it. And again, just the utility of having literally it's in its name, a utility blade, a utility knife. I've grown to really love it. This is a cheap tool. So I don't mind it falling in the dirt or the mud. I don't mind cutting open, you know, strings on hay bales or obviously boxes, or just cutting drywall or pieces of carpet. Like I'm always doing random crap, trying to kind of build this homestead and just a do-it-yourself guy. And I'm always just destroying blades, and I hate it. Like I don't want to take my fancy nice knife and just get the hinge mechanism messed up in the dirt, or just destroy the blade to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna need to spend some time getting that edge back. I just chuck this off and put a new blade on. And there are different kinds of blades. I just kind of use the standard ones. I have some of these gold titanium ones. I don't find that they really do any better or last any longer. They just look a little cooler if you're into the gold. They have some that are serrated. I tried some serrated ones for a while. I ended up not actually liking those as much, but I thought, man, a serrated would be sick. But I wasn't cutting enough like rope and stuff for it to warrant the less performance I liked out of it for other stuff. Or there's like carpet hook blades. So if you have a specialty that you need to do, you can. Now, the only thing where something like this one or the DeWalt or the Milwaukee win is how easy it is to change the blade. This one is just, you pull up on this little guy. I don't know if it's hard to show in video, but this little thing here goes up, and then you just pull the blade out. So blade changes are very effortless if you're needing to change blades all the time. I'm not really changing them all the time depending on what I do. So this one does come with a little tool. I'm not even sure if this is the tool that came with it, but this is basically the tool it comes with. And you turn this little guy here, and that loosens a little screw essentially. The screw is captured, so you don't have to take it all the way out or anything. Actually, there's a couple that I returned that you have to take this thing all the way out, and it's just a mess. Actually, I think it's this one, the little screw comes all the way out. The screw is captured, so it's not going to come all the way out and lose it. But you unscrew that, and then you pull that out. Blade changes are not that hard, but not quite as quick and easy as the other systems. And then really, you can just get it thumb tight, and it'll probably work. But since I always have a multi-tool on me, the pliers in the multi-tool also just work fine to grab this and crank it down all the way. I found that that actually keeps the blade very secure. It doesn't rattle. I've had some times with this one, actually, the blade is always just going to be a little bit loose in here. Not terribly loose, but a little bit loose. And I was actually cutting through, I forget, some insulation, I think, with this. And as the insulation was cutting through, it actually engaged this thing and the blade came loose and eventually fell out on me. So I haven't had that happen with this variant yet. It's been good. But yeah, I think I probably, the other thing is there's so much of this blade exposed, which can be good for some tasks or worse for some tasks, whereas a lot of utility knives will just have, they'll have less blade showing, and some even less. Sometimes you have the option to just show, you know, a little bit of blade if you just need to cut not very deep, something like this. But these variants have almost the whole blade edge. So that's a pro for some cases or a con for others. I think it's a pro for a lot of the daily usability that I have. So it's even more than this one. But again, this one does allow you to get a full grip on it. Like you can get your full hand on it because you're not cutting your finger here. Whereas this one, you can't really, it doesn't have enough here to really get your finger on it without getting your finger onto the blade itself. So really, if you need a full grip, it's something like this. So you can almost get a full grip. Your pinky's making a little contact there. So I actually like the grip of this much better than the standard one that's been out for a while. Because this one, when you get a full grip, your pinky is just floating. You know, you'll compare that. This is basically, in firearms terms, this is basically a Glock 26 here with no like pinky extension magazine. It's like kind of what it feels like. You can hold it pretty good, but it just doesn't quite feel right. This is more like a Glock 19. You get a pretty good grip on it. You know, it's feeling pretty good. Whereas the DeWalt is like, you know, a Glock 17. You get like a full grip on there. But Glock 19, you know, sweet spot for most people. So this is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people. If you just have monster beefcake hands, even my, like if I really went right up into this and got the full grip, my pinky would really be floating. But depending on how you're grabbing it, like, you know, you're a lot of times doing a little more delicate tasks or just a little more. So when you're doing something like that, you can kind of get the finger full grip on there, or a lot of times you're, you know, doing this kind of grip or whatever. So the handle length actually is pretty adequate, and then just the usability of having the little bit driver is pretty slick. So anyway, this has been unexpectedly my favorite new EDC item for a long time, and knife guys will absolutely hate it because there's no like fancy steels or anything like that in this, and it's cheap, you know, it's like $30. It's relatively disposable. So if you're like a knife guy and you just need to carry a sick knife, this probably isn't for you. But if you are just raw functionality, then this is definitely worth a look. Again, I know it probably sounds paid or something, but it absolutely is not. The only money I might make off of this is affiliate if you use it. And I do have an affiliate with Olight. I don't even know if Oknife is sold on Olight or if it's separate or if my affiliate, but I do have an Olight affiliate, which if it works, I'll link it down below. But you just pick these up on Amazon. It's where I bought them. So I bought all of these ones off of Amazon, and yeah, makes it easy. So I'll put Amazon links down below as well. But yeah, it's just has the fidget factor, has the form factor, has the you don't really care about it too much. You could lose it or break it, or I mean, especially the blade tip, break it, whatever, and just you don't have to worry about it. It's just simple and works, but carries well and is a little bit fun. Like this is nice. It's like a pretty nice action. Is it a $500 knife action? No, but for just like little fidget play, I love it. It's very nice. So yeah, or if you don't want to flick it, you can, like I said earlier, I think you can just push down on the lock mechanism and fling it like that. Yeah, awesome. I think they come in, a few. I think they have like a donut color, the green, micarta, the carbon fiber. I think they have a couple others as well. But I went for the, it's between these two in my book. So yeah, cool. All right, somewhat of a random video, but again, I ended up talking a lot about one little tool in my EDC, and I didn't want to dedicate that much of it in my full EDC video. So I will film the full EDC video soon. I will mention this in that video, obviously, but I just won't break it down as much. But yeah, when I was sort of preparing to do the EDC video, I was like, you know what? There's a lot that I want to ramble about and unpack with this. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments down below, and by liking and sharing and subscribing and all that good stuff. Appreciate you watching. Again, if you feel like buying anything, if it's one of these or if it's anything else, also feel free to click my link and then buy whatever through it. I always appreciate that support. All right, guys, until next time, take care.